I look because Preston sent me some books like weeks ago.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the evening roast and
Hi,
the
everybody.
video.
Sorry about that rough transition. But you always take a gamble when you have me on. You know that.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go live.
And it's not like it's our fault. We just started a conversation. He just decides to interrupt us just to start the show.
I know, it's fucked up.
Well, I was already late as it is. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
Welcome.
Hi there.
We apologize for Chris.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In a major way. Just want to express our deep remorse.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you, Paul.
A pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, sorry for being late, everybody in the chat, because I see everybody fussing at me. Right when I was getting ready to send out invites, and I had finished setting everything up, and I was ready to go. I got a thing from the bank, and then I ended up getting a phone call and all this other stuff. I was like, come on. I was like, no, not right now.
Life has a habit of interfering.
It was like I had a bunch of stuff going on there all at once, but it's all good. We're here now.
And Manila is live. It's alive.
That's right.
Refresh the page. I think we've had a few contributions since the page.
Oh,
there you go. It's all better.
We're up to 5 backers now.
Little better.
Oh man. Looking forward to having a look at this book. The art already, I'm really digging.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you scroll down on the page, you'll see character art, and then at the bottom there's actually pretty much an entire page of the comic where I think it's where the boat race starts.
Yeah, you're gonna like that. It's also very historical. Brian. It's your cup of tea. Yeah.
Love that shit.
You start talking about historical and all that stuff with Paul, and he's pretty much the same thing when we start talking about horror movies with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a history guy too, but I only have so much room for that information because the rest of it's all taken up. The rest of my hard drive space is all taken up with horror trivia.
So, Chris, why don't you start off with running the video like you originally planned?
Well, I was going to, but some people couldn't stop talking.
Yeah, but when you press play, it mutes us. Just do it.
No, it doesn't.
Here, I'll mute myself.
No, just mute Sim. That's all I need.
There you go. We're muted. Go.
My name's Yang, and this is my ship, the Manila Galleon. Let me tell you about the Manila Galleon since you're new here. Pirates dream of taking this ship every night until they die. She's the biggest, toughest, richest ship afloat. The Spanish had the galleon built. See, they went looking for China and found the Americas instead. They called the American natives Indians and enslaved them and stole their silver. Mountains of silver. Lucky for the Spanish, the Ming Chinese needed mountains of silver to back up the worthless paper currency. So, twice a year, the Spanish pack all the silver they can into one ship and send her from Acapulco, New Spain, across 15,000 miles of ocean to their colony, here in Manila.
In 2017, I was talking to my friend, actor Jack Yang, about this thing from history called the Manila Galleon. Now, Jack hadn't heard about the Manila Galleon, but when I was telling him about this, he loved this notion that I had about writing a swashbuckling adventure taking place in the mid-17th century, starring a team of East Asian scalawags trying to steal this famous treasure ship.
We wanted these characters to be very real, but also, too, that whole concept of Asian pirates who primarily on their own don't like each other at all.
There have been some fun resurrections of the pirate adventure genre. Obviously, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Disney Three Musketeers, the Monkey Island computer games, even Cutthroat Island. They're all so much fun. The heroes are rascally, the villains enjoy being villainous. There's humor, unlikely romance, friendship, betrayals, escapes. miracles.
I wanted to explore not just the pirate genre itself, but how it manifested throughout the whole years, because a lot into the 1930s, the 1930s and classic Hollywood film, they eat up pirate films so much. What we're focusing on though are historical Asian pirates, and that's something I don't believe I've really heard or seen before. And I'm really happy that I get to work on a project like this.
It's like the Asian Ocean's 11.
On the surface, it looks like, a swashbuckling period piece with Asians and all different types of cultures, which is fine. But I love the whole meat of the story, which happens to be different cultures are working together. It's different ideas are working together, and they're trying to go against, a empire, who always looks down on them, who always oppresses them as well too.
What I really like about the story, like you said, Eugene, is it brings to light a lot of Asian cultures that most Asians and Westerners don't know much about the formation of, or how it shifted, or where we are now is because of things that happened a few hundred years ago.
Manila is a comic story told in 6 issues, and the script is already complete. We're raising money to draw and print issue 1 and give us a head start on drawing and printing issue 2. By the time issue 2 is released, we'll have a production pipeline to our readers established, and we plan to self-publish 1 issue per month until volume 1 is complete. Our master plan is to finish the story as a 3-volume trilogy, then work with Jack Yang to get Manila made as a Hollywood movie.
Thank you for your time for looking into my art and Paul's storytelling, and thank you for reading Manila, and hope you're looking forward to issue 2.
Thank you all for joining our crew and going on this adventure with us. We've had such a great time creating this story, and we know you'll enjoy it too. Cheers, folks.
All right. All right, let's see.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am unmuted. All right, good.
Looks like a great book. I mean, as for the trailer, I mean, I always prefer my trailers to have like pounding metal soundtracks, but that's just me. Otherwise, nice work.
Thank you.
Hey, Mo says the volume is a bit quiet, but that's some good narration.
Yeah.
And for those that hadn't seen the prior show or something, give us a little quick, what's Manila and.
Oh, you want me to kind of give a little bit of background?
Yep.
Well, Manila was a trade hub even before the Spanish showed up, and the Philippines, again, even before the Spanish showed up, and even into now, there's thousands of islands in the Philippines, and even the most ruthless and violent attempts at pacifying all of them were unsuccessful. There's still Moro rebels running around in the Philippines even now that the Philippines is its own sovereign nation. So it's always been a chaotic place, but also a sort of a trade crossroads because of where it's positioned. It's sort of positioned close enough to Japan, close enough to China, close enough to the Spice Islands to the south, and it's not too far off of the trade routes from India in the west. So the reason the Spanish settled on building a big base in what's now Manila is they were kind of stiff-armed from establishing a base in either Macau or mainland China by the Portuguese and the Ming Dynasty Chinese. So they essentially established this base in Manila, and they were shuttling silver from the Americas to China or to Manila to therefore do what they call the China trade. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else around was taking advantage or trying to get a piece of the action. A big part of our story is the kind of looming threat that, the Spanish are kind of bad guys, but sort of the bad guys of the bad guys are the Dutch East India Company. And this is true in the mid 17th century, like 1640s, 1650s through, I would say through the 1680s, the Dutch were extremely powerful. I would say at one point, the Dutch East India Company's kind of market capital valuation was the equivalent of $8.3 trillion in today's money. It might be biggest, most powerful corporation in all of world history, at least up until this point. Maybe some giant tech corporation will be more powerful in the near future, but and they were a private corporation that acted like a nation state. So
yeah, they certainly did.
So there's I mean, yes, there are, but the interesting thing also about, again, in the 17th century was because of the 30 Years' Wars between, you know, the various factions on, you know, the Protestant and Catholic sides of the conflicts, and because of the Dutch War of Independence against the Spanish, and then the Anglo-Dutch Wars between the English and the Dutch, the Europeans were kind of busy with each other, a little too busy to give, like, perhaps their best efforts, like the efforts the Europeans would expend in projecting power into particularly East Asia in the 19th century. They couldn't manage that at the time. And also, again, there were still very large political entities in the East Indies and in the Asian mainland that could repel them. So it's like no one really had that big of an advantage. Everyone was looking real carefully at each other and trying to get over on each other as best as they could. But again, and at the time we're talking about now, the mid 1600s, the Ming Dynasty was in the process of collapsing and being shoved actually onto the island of Taiwan by the new Manchu or Qing dynasty as well. So it's like this complete cluster of, you know, anacondas wrestling and trying to eat each other all the time. And again, some of them are you know, Western Europeans trying to get a piece of the action, but there's plenty of folks just right there messing with each other too. So I was like, this is a spectacularly interesting and chaotic time and place, and we can set a story there and just, you know, watch what happens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a brilliant idea. It's such a perfect time, and it's such a perfect setting. Like you said, Manila was, you know, like they say about stores, location, 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 and yeah, you know, and then of course you had the, you know, like the Ming Dynasty falling to the Manchus. Anybody that's watched a lot of kung fu movies, watched as many kung fu movies as I have, is familiar with the Manchus. They're frequently depicted as the bad guys, the barbarian.
Well, what wasn't that
invaders.
the inspiration why they put Chow Yun Fat in Pirates of the Caribbean for a while? Like in that movie?
He was in the third one. I watched the second one just because I wanted to watch the third one because I knew it was going to have Chow Yun Fat in it, because that's my boy right there, right? But then I hated the second one so much I never watched the third one.
Well, there was a very famous pirate who kind of he was a pirate, and then he went legit and worked for the Ming and betrayed his other pirate kind of pals and got really powerful and really rich, and then he ended up being captured and executed by the Manchus when they took over. I think the pirates, the kind of pirate group that he sort of put together was called the Shibaji, and but again, the you know, pirates in the South China Seas could come from lots of places, and again, there were plenty of very competent, scary Japanese pirates and Japanese soldiers that could get hired by anybody. I mean, there's some really cool stories. There's a great book actually called Nathaniel's Nutmeg, and it's sort of an attempt to take a bunch of true stories from the spice race, particularly between the Dutch and the English. The Dutch and English trying to grab this particular island chain called the Bandas, which for the longest time was the only place in the whole world where you could get nutmeg. And this book tried to put those stories together and sort of create a narrative out of it. It kind of worked, but there was just some amazing stories. And one of the stories was the some English East India Company ship got sent, you know, there. They had a little commission. They arrived at their contact. I don't know what sort of Raj or what sort of, you know, principality they were supposed to be able to do business with. They arrive there, and what, you know, whatever person in charge is like, oh, we have no deal. Like, we're not going to sell you stuff. You know, sorry, buddy. So they're like, well, we're here. We've come all this way. We're going to be pirates now. We're just going to attack, you know, ships and take them. Fine. You know, we're just roving around. And I don't think they had some success, but they, you know, they were okay, doing fine, kind of. And they happened upon this ship full of what they described these kind of like shorter, squatter, tan dudes. And they hadn't met them before. And they turned out to be Japanese guys.
Right.
And the ship approaches, and the English are saying, "Oh, you know, let's hail them. Hey, maybe we could trick them into letting us on their ship." And the you know, okay, cool, and it works. And hey, come on our ship. The Japanese say, hey, look at all this stuff. Here's our stuff we have. Isn't this cool? Maybe we should, team up and like, go attack stuff together. Yeah, cool. And the English are like, actually, I mean, we might betray you, but maybe, okay, this is going kind of good. And then the Japanese guys are like, could we see your ship? Could we come on board your ship? And they're like, I guess. They bring them on the ship and they're like, oh, here's this stuff, and then just like without any warning, just they're killing everyone. Oh Jesus, they've taken over half the ship. They have the whole back half of the ship. These English guys, because these Japanese folks were so ferocious, they ended up having to like, and I think they were blocking the way to like the small arms locker. So these English guys had to like basically like cut the restraint ropes off of cannons and like blow off the back of their own ship to like get rid of these guys. It's like complete chaos. So like but before Japan, before the Tokugawa closed off Japan, there was lots of Japanese mercenaries who were getting hired to basically be Marines on these ships. Like the Manila galleons, sometimes the Spanish would hire Japanese, Ronin samurai mercenaries to be kind of, muscle on the decks of their ships. And our kind of the Japanese character who's in our, band of miscreants is kind of like one of those. He's a Ronin from Japan who is essentially, a muscle to fight on the deck of the ship.
The man with many swords.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, because also remember, if you're fighting above decks, you can have like a big katana like that. But if you're fighting below decks, you're going to want to go with the wakizashi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's why, I've got some naval swords around here, and, like naval
Small.
cutlasses, they're small. And
Yeah.
that's because, you don't want to have your sword hitting the roof,
Yeah, or if you're carrying more than one of them, you don't want them getting tangled up. You want to be able to kind of take one out, like tangle somebody up with one of them and then free the next one and keep, go to work.
Right.
I was at a martial arts tournament one time, and there's a stunt coordinator and martial artist named Luke LaFontaine, and he was helping on the second unit on Master and Commander and also on the Pirates movies. And
Nice.
he ran this workshop where he's like, okay, we're gonna kind of simulate kind of a pirate boarding action. So here's your short little cutlasses. If you want to have two, fine, go ahead and have two. But it's like he basically put like tape on the ground that simulated kind of the how narrow a ship's deck would be, and it's okay. All of you in a group fight all of you in a group, and it was complete chaos. Almost no room to maneuver. Lots of people just getting tagged in not much, no way to kind of avoid stuff. It was pretty bad. I would not want to be in a boarding action. Doesn't sound like a fun thing at all to me.
Definitely not.
All right, so let's see. We got Pale Rider in the chat. We got Mo Biggs. What is this Pale Rider saying? The book's heat and all, but his important question is about the title of the new Chris drawing. Should it be called Heavy
Or Red Dress Metal.
Whoa, wait a minute. Heavy Sugar? What are you trying to imply, Pale Rider?
I suggest a spicy metal, but he really wants the heavy sugar. I don't know why.
I think he's trying to say I'm fat.
Or is he trying to say that you're metal? You can take it either way.
No.
We also
all
have Johnny
trust him.
Gage in the chat,
El
Mo
Gargoyle.
Biggs, Michael
El Gargoyle, what up,
Bancroft,
dude?
and Ryan Cardinal.
Oh, yeah, Michael Bancroft.
What up, Michael?
What's up?
What's up, Bancroft? Yeah, and Michael Bancroft, of course, the host of his own show with the Bogans. You're definitely going to want to hop on there and
Bancroft
get
is
to
good
know
for
those
these.
folks.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish we would have known that you had been launching this today sooner. I could have done more promotion for it and more ahead of time and tried to help out more.
We got 30 days, and I'm pretty confident we'll get past 20% today, and that was my goal for today specifically. So no worries. This is kind of seat my pants, to be honest, but it's a fairly modest goal, and I have a pretty large group of people I'm going to follow up with.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for helping me. This is cool.
Pale Rider says Drake the Dragon was his favorite pirate. Okay. I don't know that one. Oh, we got Ryan?
No, not familiar with that one either. No, I mean,
Like a cartoon or something.
Drake the Dragon, wasn't that the firefighter dragon?
Well, it sounds like a play on words of like, because the Spanish called Francis Drake El Drac, which I think means
Oh, there you go.
or El Drake, which is the dragon.
Drake, okay.
So I mean, there could be a dragon character, but it's I think a play on words from Drake, from the dragon Drake, Francis Drake.
The movie that I always loved as a kid was Captain Blood with Errol Flynn, and then and then there was a movie I loved as a kid that doesn't hold up very well, unfortunately, called Swashbuckler.
Yeah, I
with
saw that one.
yeah, and it's funny because like Ted and Terry Rossio, they're the guys who ended up writing the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and they had like a special screening because at Disney it's just like you ask for a movie and they'll screen it for you in a screening room, and one of them was just like, oh, I'm telling you, man, this movie's better than Star Wars, and they screened it and like everybody was busting his balls like better than Star Wars.
So tell me again, who stars in Swashbuckler?
Oh, Swashbuckler, that was with why am I blanking on his name from Jaws, the Irish actor.
Robert Shaw?
Robert Shaw. And Peter Boyle. Yeah, Robert Shaw and Peter Boyle. As the
I don't know if I saw that one. I don't think I did.
No, me, I brought up one of the movies that my mom made me watch, which was what was it again in English? The Pirate.
I think it's just called the Pirate Movie.
Yeah.
Complete dog show.
Well, in French, it was the Pirate of My Dream. I'm like, I was trying to translate it, and I'm like, it's just called the Pirate Movie. Okay.
There we go.
It was the wannabe Spaceballs of pirate movies, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It kind of wishes it was Spaceballs.
Didn't it come out at the same time as like Top Secret or something too?
And Polanski also made a pirate movie that I've never seen that had Walter Matthau in it, I think. I forget what the hell that's. I forget.
That was just called Pirates. It was just called Pirates. And,
yeah, there you
go. All I know about that one really. I mean, I might have even seen it. It was pretty forgettable. I just remember the ship was pretty cool, and I guess the ship is still moored in Italy or something, and it's very cool. I think it's a very stylized 17th century, war galleon that looks. It's pretty contemporary with the time period we're going for in our thing. But it's so big, and it's obvious that they must have towed it into place. It couldn't possibly sail or something, or no one could possibly sail it.
Right. So it's designed more as a prop than as a something that's functional.
Yeah, I mean, because you can. There's a good number of replica tall ships that, they're built with modern metallurgy, and I'm sure there's some they cut some corners or there's some engines, whatever, but they still can be sailed, like sailboats.
Right. Right.
I'm sure that there's not very many people who are super competent to operate them in that way, and I'm sure they're really careful about only going out in like good conditions. They don't want to take these things out in storms or whatever, but they can sail. They can sail them around if they want to. Right. But some of these props, not so much,
Right. Love this art, man. Art looks fantastic.
Eugene Park is really great. I found his Red Roger comic, and it reminded me of Monkey Island. That's why I was so excited. And I was very, because my dad's a naval architect. I didn't mind some stylization in terms of the anatomy of the ships, but I wanted the anatomy to still be pretty good, pretty naturalistic. And a lot of like more cartoony comic artists are tempted to sort of make even the ships very sort of larger than life. And I sort of wanted to split the difference, it's like,
right.
I don't want this to be as sort of fantastical as like a Pirates of the Caribbean. Like there's no ghosts and no magic, at least not yet. But there's still kind of an exaggerated sort of funness to it, and a wit to it. And I had a question yesterday about, is it gory or is there some TNA action? No, it's pretty tame. And I think the reason why I'm going for that is because, I saw these Errol Flynn movies when I was 6, and it would be cool if, other 6 or 7-year-olds could look at the comic and not have their parents be annoyed they're looking at the comic.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I think we need more all ages books, or at least kid friendly books.
Well, again, there's some violent stuff that's not I'm not pulling punches. There is some violence and there is some stuff that's not so nice, but I'm not trying to overindulge in such things. I think like the 30s, 40s, like yes, there's a lot of action, but they're not gratuitous about what the about what they're showing and how kind of graphic they're being.
Right.
And again, a fairly sort of chaste attitude about sex. And I'm not like a chaste person myself necessarily, but like, you know, it would be good to not alienate a bunch of the potential audience that way.
Right. So there might be some romance, but there's no explicit sex scenes or nudity.
Well, the other thing also is, again, the part of why I even changed the original. I originally did a screenplay, and I changed a few things and added a particular character because I was trying to gear the story more for the young adult audience, because I do understand that there is a very large comic YA audience, and that was something that was very intentional. It's like there's like younger YA and older YA, and like the younger YA is less violent and less risque stuff. And I was like, I'd rather do that. You know, it's like I can, if I'm trying to, you know, make this something that if a publisher wanted to take it totally legit, they could do that and they would know where to place it. That's fine. And that didn't really bother me.
Right, but it's not watered down either, I'm assuming.
No. I wasn't gonna try to make it like needlessly cutesy either.
Right, and you have to face, you know, if you're setting it in a realistic historical setting, you're also going to have to deal with the fact that there was some pretty ugly shit that was going on.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be pretty judicious about sort of when I kind of share the really yucky stuff, or just allude to it. Again, it's,
right.
if it's only everyone being horrible all the time, it'll get boring. But
right,
also,
right.
But that said, something that I think is something that is effective, and I think people like, but is also, I'd say, getting rather culturally risky right now, is having, especially like the villains, have people who are enjoying being horrible can be funny.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like the Joker, it's like we call the Joker.
Cruelty is funny, or it can be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget that.
Or, you know, like or Bender, or, you know, those type of characters.
Oh yeah, comic
like one of my boys already asked me, he
goes,
how come we enjoy watching like jerks on TV, but it's not people we'd like to be friends with? I'm like, that's the effect of it. It's like there's certain moments that are like, that's actually funny, but you wouldn't do that to nobody. You know?
Right,
you
wouldn't hang out with those people in real life, but you like watching them on TV or in a movie or in a comic book.
What's just like the reason you like watching clowns get hurt? You know, it's like
it's like it's the people you love to hate. You know, like I think that's the main thing. Like they're funny, but you're like, no, they make you shake your head, like, you know, like the Joker effect, which is, hey, he's doing something really freaking horrible. You should not be laughing. You feel bad that you're laughing.
But you're laughing. Yeah. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those characters are like the worst people, but that's why they're entertaining.
Yep.
And actually, you mentioned Cutthroat Island. Frank Langella's performance in that is like completely over the top.
It's over the top. Oh yeah, it's over the top. It was. They were like, hey, could you do like the Skeletor thing, but like a little more down to earth? It's like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
That movie. That's a movie again. That's I'd say Cutthroat Island is my swashbuckler, because I'll tell my friends, I'm like, look, we should get together and watch this thing. And they're like, is it good? I'm like, no, it's not good, but it's fun. It's fun bad. You're going to like. Best way I could describe Cutthroat Island is if you took $100 million in like cash and threw it in a pile and dumped gas on it and lit it on fire, it would take that cash longer to finish burning than the movie runtime. Like you're just watching them shoveling money in a furnace. It's like what it's like aerial photography of like real islands, and they built two huge ships and blow one up with like dynamite.
But wasn't it the part of the magic with the Mel Brooks movie too? It's like if you actually looked at them like cinema wise, like they weren't like amazingly filmed movies. They were a masterpiece, but they were so fun and well thought out, and such a fun watch that they ended up being masterpieces.
Right. Sometimes happens.
Like Blazing Saddles. Who would have expected that to be a success?
well, you know, a lot of it also has to do with timing, right?
Yeah. How dare you?
For instance,
great.
Dr. Frankenstein. No, Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, and like I say, the thing that always amazes me is how people who have never seen Son of Frankenstein, which is the movie that young Frankenstein is satirizing, still think it's hilarious. And But yeah, no, I mean, pirates are very, we're have been part of the zeitgeist. Now Vikings are part of the zeitgeist again. It's like, okay, let's see some pirate comics. Let's see some Viking comics. Let's see, right? Because these are like movie genres that have been like just sort of kind of disappeared
Forgotten.
literally
Yep.
for like 50 or 60 years. And then they come back, and then hopefully you have somebody that's doing a fresh take on it. That's the really important thing. Can you do something new? Do you have a fresh take? And this sounds like a very fresh take, especially when you have like the clash of not just the clash of cultures, but also the combination of cultures, and how obviously you're going to have some friction there, but you're also going to have some people finding common ground.
Well, and the funny thing that I kind of bumped into by accident by attempting to do this, because again, there's a lot of risks involved, and I'm sure I'm going to offend everybody ever, and that's whatever. It's just the way it is. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's just the way it's going to be.
Right.
But something that someone who was going to talk to me about this kind of, and I think it was actually an artist I was possibly courting, and she was based in the Philippines, and she said, this is a very Western style story. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because I mean, I don't actually know what you mean by that. Like, you're probably right, but what do you mean? And she was like, well, it's the whole thing of like, there's a bunch of different people from different places, and they're kind of deliberately getting along enough to do this job. And if it was a story that was, even if it was the same premise, if this was written by someone who's, from any particular East Asian country, they'd probably have everyone fighting each other a lot more. And there would clearly be like one culture that was better than the other ones, because there's actually quite a bit of justifiable friction between folks from different places in East and Southeast Asia, because very recently they were really mean to each other to the point of like genocide practically. It's like, if you ask someone, hey, Chinese person, why do you hate the Japanese? And they're like, really? Do I have to explain this to you? And you're like, okay,
hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, again, the Filipinos, like, hey, Filipinos, why do you hate insert anyone that's ever talked to you here? Like, okay. Keep pushing us around, you assholes. Like, what are you doing here? Stop it. Like, leave us alone.
I know
okay,
a guy.
That makes sense.
I know a guy who's like a Filipino martial arts master, and he'll tell you like a lot of like Filipino Kali is the name of the martial art, right? Where they use the eskrima sticks and that sort of a thing. He's like most, like very, very few Filipinos will admit this, but there's a lot of like Spanish fencing in Filipino martial arts, like lunging and that sort of a thing. So it's actually rapier fighting is part of Filipino martial arts. But
I'm sure kind of everyone was happy to steal the good stuff from each other. And actually, I told the story yesterday. I didn't know this until I was already done with this draft, but I was trying to get some lambanog, which is this distilled liquor that's from the Philippines. Because I wanted to like get Jack Yang drunk on it and like film that. That'd be funny. But I was like, what is this stuff? And I looked at the history of it, brief history. So the Filipinos, the native Filipinos had made this fermented palm tree or coconut tree sap. They called it tuba, I think, and it was like beer, or like kind of like a weak wine. It was like your standard operating procedure. Like we found this stuff, we fermented it, good to go. Kind of like everywhere. And then when the Spanish showed up, they showed the Filipinos their distillation equipment. And the Filipinos took the distillation equipment and kind of modified it and did their own spin on it. And then they distilled this coconut sap stuff into it's basically coconut sap vodka. It's very clean, with a little bit of a sweet finish. But then there were Filipino sailors on these Manila galleons going back and forth between Manila and Acapulco. And so these Filipino sailors hop off the boat in Mexico. And they're like, hey, Mexicans, you want to try some of this good stuff? Mexicans like, this is pretty good. How do you make this stuff? And they say, well, you got to climb up to the top of these palm trees and drain the sap out. Super dangerous. And the Mexicans were like, that sounds a little tiring and dangerous. But we got this thing here called the blue agave. We'll just take your distillation equipment and we'll go mess with this blue agave over here. And that's why we have tequila. So like this sort of like weird stealing each other's moves thing is pretty interesting, and like the what shakes out into the modern world is really not obvious, but so cool when when
It
there's
is.
little stories like that.
Yep. Yeah, no, I had no idea. Thank you for the history lesson.
Well, and the reason that I took a particular interest in this whole thing, besides the fact that I like this history in general, is I'm from Albany, New York, and Albany and what's now New York City used to be New Amsterdam and Fort Orange. It was a Dutch colony, and
Yep.
the Dutch and English were fighting these trade wars, particularly over the Banda Islands in the south, in Southeast Asia, these little dinky islands, and so one of the treaties of their wars was, okay, Dutch get to keep the bandas because they like their nutmeg monopoly, but the English got New York. So because of some weird thing happening on the other side of the planet, where I grew up had a lot of Dutch history, but it turned out to be an English colony in the final analysis. It's just again so weird how things shake out that way.
But there are so many places along the Hudson River that still have Dutch names.
Well, even New York City, like Staten Island, Brooklyn, Harlem,
Spuyten-Duyvil.
There was a town near me called Rotterdam. There was a little town called Amsterdam, which is a kind of a Rust Belt industrial city on the Mohawk River, pretty close to me. The Dutch boy who's on the crew of the ship. First of all, it was kind of a way to like sneak myself into the story as like the muscle, but also I named him Hoogtalen. Well, my neighbors were named Hoogtalen, so I just stole my neighbor's name. Yeah, so I just stole my neighbor's Dutch name and like threw it on this beefy dude that I want to play in the movie if I can swing it.
Yeah, and like I grew up with like a bunch of kids that were Van Dunks, and they were the descendants of Dutch people, freed slaves, and Native Americans, and German like Hessian mercenaries.
Where was this? In what area was this?
Like right here, right where I live in Rockland County.
Oh wow! Wait, so you on Long Island?
No. I'm like about 50 minutes outside of the city. Like, do you know where like White Plains is, Westchester?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm on the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, on the other side of the Tappan Zee Bridge.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a cool.
It's cool really interesting shit. Yeah. Yeah, I found that absolutely fascinating. But yeah, but this is also cool because you're dealing with pirates from varying cultures, but also there's a heist movie element, it seems, right? Because everyone has their thing. We're gonna jack that.
Well, everyone has their little skill set that they need to kind of utilize when the time comes. And I think that the one that was kind of odd and interesting was I sort of like, if we're trying to sort of what's the word for it? Requisition stuff or kind of trick the Spanish into letting some of like more of our guys be on the crew of this thing, so when we could when they stick up our fingers, they can kind of double take the thing. I have this Mexican mestizo fellow named Jesus who's going to be the forger. It's like, he learned from the monks how to write exactly like the kind of viceroyal dispatchers. So we got a guy, spring this guy to jail. Okay, do what we say. All right, it's a lot of that. A lot of kind of, what do we need? Okay, let's get the thing. Hey, do what we say. Or right. What's going on? What are we doing?
so there's part of the story where we see the team being assembled, or are we just dropped like right into the adventure?
Issue 1, you meet, I would say, the main players, but it's going to be in issue 2 where you finally have the like sitting around the table, this is what we're doing scene.
Right.
The first issue is more introducing the environs, and there's a boat race, and the Dutch attack the place as well. So you kind of get thrown into like some fast-paced stuff, but the plan doesn't get explicitly laid out until the second issue. But the first issue art is finished, and the script is pretty much set for issue 2. I mean, I had a whole graphic novel script, and I'm sort of breaking it up, and I'm very new at this, so breaking it up into page numbers that are divisible by 8 is something I'm trying to get better at.
You will. It's all, we're all learning as we go along. That's the
absolutely.
That's the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this looks great, man.
Tail Rider says any possibility of a cross-dressing pirate that loves red dresses.
Oh God, now I'm getting flashbacks from that Chris Elliott movie, Cabin Boy.
What
I
was
feel
it?
like there's a recurring theme here.
In what movie? In what movie was it too that they found a dress on the freaking boat? Wasn't it in Pirate of the Caribbean again?
Black Pearl. They the two were in the dresses on the ship to distract the naval guys, right?
And then somebody left it on the dock, and trying to say that it was a woman's spirit that was gonna,
I don't remember.
I don't know. But well, that is something though. Tail Rider brings up the point there with that. Maybe on your second, book, you could do like a drawn interior or something like that.
Say that again. Oh yeah, that's cute. I like that idea.
Those are fun.
Maybe not necessarily a cross-dressing pirate in a red dress, but yeah.
that would make for an interesting swashbuckling.
Yeah, it would.
Keep telling me about it. It'll just get stuck in my head, and I'll just do it by accident. Like, and then we're gonna.
but
and then they're in dresses. It's like, why?
Just to distract you.
Eugene will tell me, like, you keep telling me to put people in dresses. What's going on, buddy? What's you okay?
We're setting up for the red dress crew.
How many times can the bad guys be tricked by guys in dresses?
It's just like
they pass by.
Chick. Oh wait, she's got a beard.
They pass by. They all bent over, mooning them, and they all go like. Then they turn around and start shooting at them. There you go. Like the Scot, like it's like the opposite of the Scots when they would just flash the guys with their kilt.
Yep. Oh God. Oh, that's great. But we are going to get some real pirate action in the first issue.
Yeah, particularly the Dutch ship blasting the crap out of the fort. Yeah,
awesome. Awesome.
Essentially, like the Dutch are attacking the San Felipe fort, which is guarding the shipyard at Cavite. So there's Manila proper, and then there's a peninsula a little ways around the bay. That's called Cavite, and the Spanish had their shipbuilding works and also their foundry over there. And also that fort would not only guard the shipyard itself, but it would kind of guard the approaches from the west and south to the bay. And the Dutch just blast the crap out of the fort. So because the Spanish are all drunk watching the boat race, the main character and then our intrepid gunner Imugi, the Korean lady, they have to run up and get the cannon in place while they're getting shot at. It's fun. There's some good stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff happening. And of course, there's Spanish guards trying to stop them because it's like, you can't be in here, you Asians. It's like, oh no.
Don't say that to people with swords.
It's like just let us help. Like, no, I can't. The rules, usual.
Will there be any blunderbusses?
Oh.
Well, yeah. The page that I showed on the thing, the shipwright Yang uses a blunderbuss to start the boat race.
Oh man! For those of you that don't know what a blunderbuss was, it was basically a handheld cannon, and you could dump all kinds of shit in there: spare change, nails, screws, silverware, whatever, and just boom!
Just kill a man with forks.
Oh God, yeah, those things were no joke. If they went off, because that's the other thing too. There were a lot of misfires with flintlock technology at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the period that I'm looking at is sort of the transition from matchlock to flintlock. So yeah, probably a lot of trial and error happening.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And you have to worry about the powder or the powder spilling out. There was a episode of a TV show. It was terrible, but I watched every episode of it. That was I think Deadliest Warrior, where they would take these two warriors from history, like Viking versus samurai. I mean, and then they had a fake program that would work out who would win, and it was always bullshit. It was which type is of characters more popular at the time. That's who. It
was a popularity contest for sure. Hey, I got news for you. The Washington Napoleon episode. I was in that episode.
No.
That's
shitting me.
That's me lighting the cannon. Oh yeah,
No
that was freaking cool. Yeah,
that's awesome.
The cannon, like one of them had like true grape shot, which is like the big kind of like almost golf ball size BB things. But the other one, the not as good one, the Colonials one, but we just put like a bunch of nails in it, and the grape shot worked better. It like killed off more guys, but like the one that shot the nails, it was a narrower like cone of fire. But the dummies that we hit were like gone. They were shredded. So it's like,
oh man,
it's like the grape shot probably like wounds and kills more guys, and they're like laying there going like, oh no, tell my mother whereas where it's like it's just jam, you're just jammed.
There's just like two ankles, bloody ankles and feet.
Yeah,
like the thing that I remember was when they had like pirates versus knights. Is that all of the musket balls just went bink, 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 like none of them penetrated. It shocked me. And then they busted out the blunderbuss. And the thing misfired like 4 or 5 times, but once it did, it was the only thing that could penetrate that armor.
Well, I think that at the time, again, sort of like early to mid 1600s, those like cuirasses, those
yes.
Thick breastplates, They made them thick enough where, they worked, but because they were heavier, it's like, okay, look, it's kind of like nowadays. You have a tactical vest, and you're not putting armor on all over your body because it would be too heavy if it was thick enough to actually block a shot. But you have the thick bits are protecting your vital organs, like and then they have those like kind of peaked helmets. That's probably also good for axes, but I'm sure they help with bullets too, but. I think at some point it was like, okay, this is expensive, and also the bullets are like 50 caliber now or 80 caliber, whatever the hell they were. It's like at some point this is getting a little much. We got to like just forget the whole thing and just be disciplined.
Well, yeah, and that's also why swords, like you look at the history of swords, I'm a sword guy, sword collector. You just see them throughout history getting like smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until finally they're just like basically giant ice picks. Like small swords.
Well, I think again, the sort of depending on for what purpose they are made, especially the later ones you're referring to, it's like by that point it's just a fashion statement, really.
Pretty much.
It's like I have the money to wear this thing. Yes, if someone messes with me, I can then kill them in the morning with this thing that I'm carrying. But it's and there's a divergence as well, between. The kind of, in the same way nowadays, a rifle and a pistol are both guns, but they're different kinds of guns. Like the sword for the battlefield is, probably longer, probably bigger, not very much fun if you're trying to carry it around in the city streets. And then you got, you have the shorter swords or thinner swords that are good for civilian defense. It's like the big swords on the battlefield get replaced by things that are cheaper and easier to train with for more people. And more effective for killing people. It's like it's a shame, in a weird way, that like because of the pragmatism of the West, the lineage to learn how to use the older weapons is broken because they discarded them or changed them into different things because what worked in the battlefield was different. We got guns now.
Well, that's where HEMA comes in. I'm not sure if you're familiar with HEMA, historical European martial arts. People
we probably have people in common that we know. With whom have you trained, or played, or?
Oh, not that many people. I was part of like one sword club, but it broke up because of like internal squabbling over like stupid shit. And
that happens all the time.
It does. You get more than like 5 people together, there's going to be some kind of factioning. But it was one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to take a side over something stupid. Right? If there's been a murder or a rape, okay, maybe I'll take a side, but not over like some squabbling. And then, of course, what happened was that everybody ended up hating me because I wouldn't take a side.
No, it's like when a couple breaks up and everyone has to like decide whose side they're on. It's like I wasn't there for whatever happened here. I don't particularly enjoy this whole game.
Yeah, drama no fun.
But I know what you mean about HEMA. It again. This, I guess, the sort of the strength and weakness of the Western mentality is, Okay, we're trying to recreate this thing. We're trying to, you know, figure out what the essence of it is. Okay, where's the books? What's the thing? But because no one was there, so no one's exactly qualified to have the final word. Right. Everyone can just pretend that what they think is true. And because no one has to get cut up, which good. Yes. But because no one has to get cut up, you're never really gonna. It's not gonna be as clear as you wish it were who's right and who's not right.
Well, I mean, there are tournaments of that sort of a thing, but I've always felt it's less about like I'm a German longsword and a Langesmesser guy, okay. And I'm like, you know, it's not about recreating the martial arts like the way they were in actual fighting. It's about recreating like a medieval Fechtschule, like a fencing school. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's about as far as you're gonna get.
Well, but the comforting thing is, like, again, in the you know, Middle Ages and Renaissance. You find the people who are writing at the time contemporaneously are complaining about fencing masters and tournaments the same way you would now. So it's like perversely comforting. It's like, oh, like the second people aren't fighting on the battlefield, it immediately becomes like a dojoification and, you know, a bunch of nonsense. And so same thing in the East. I mean, I remember reading about sort of once the wars were over, you know, once the Sengoku period was over and once the Edo period was kind of in its full flowering in Japan, there were all these people who were obsessed with getting great at fighting with swords, but it was harder and harder to fight with swords or fight with anything and actually, you know, win and finish it. And even if you were, you know, fighting a duel and finishing it, a duel isn't the same as a battlefield fight.
No.
So, you know, like that again, like the emphasis on the sword, it's like, well, the sword is never your first choice if you're going to a battle. It's like, what's the battle? What's the field like? Okay, I will choose the best weapon for that field. The sword is never the best choice.
No, it'd be like either a gun or a spear.
It's a great second or third choice, but it's a great choice if you don't know what's going to happen, but it's not the best thing for any given situation. You know, close in, knife's better. Battlefield, horse, sword, you know, horse, lance, bow. Like there's lots of things that are better than a sword on battlefield.
Yep.
But again, like same thing, you hear the Japanese complain about, oh, like all these fencing schools, they're just learning how to do the thing they've made up. It's not connected to the battlefield anymore. So it's, again, perversely comforting. It's like, okay, this is just where we are. You know,
it's like no, because I remember there was somebody at a HEMA tournament. Evidently, like there are these different HEMA schools, and one of them were like the Cobra Kais, and they showed up and they were just like swinging like they were trying to kill their opponent, and everybody else was just like, dudes, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, this is a martial art, so we should, you know, we should treat it like.
Was it?
I forget their name, but I think it might have been.
Those guys, if it was, I mean, I have worked with a few of those folks, and like you're right, they're super no joke, and they win a lot of tournaments.
They do, but it's just like you have to remember the person that you're fencing with is your friend. You're not actually trying to kill the motherfucker.
Yeah, there's certainly arguments that I appreciate the counter arguments, but like, sure. And their founder, the kind of the big dude who's like the leader. Yeah, he's broken a lot of swords. Hey, Chris, he's broken a lot of swords on people.
I would not spar with somebody like that, even if I was wearing full armor. Because the thing is, accidents can still happen. And if you're breaking swords, somebody could get freaking hurt. Don't take it that seriously.
Can you share my screen for 1 second? Just a fraction of a second.
I want to join more. I'm going to join more now.
I'm gonna get a quick tea refill, and I might have all sorts of.
I did a little quick sketch there, and I was waiting for the right moment. I just thought it was fun.
No. Get that out. Ban him.
I'm out.
Yeah, the proper use of cannonballs, isn't it?
Poor Chris.
Chris is drawn in. It's a must that he is in a red dress.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm in for fan service, and you know they were kind of asking for it in the chat.
But
it's delivered, man.
But to bring it back to the book itself,
let's do that.
Yeah, we've already went over it yesterday, but you know there might be people who watch this stream who don't know. How many pages was this?
Issue 1 is 24 pages.
Okay. And so you have the tier to do digital here for 10.
Yep.
And you have, this is the physical copy.
Yep. Yeah. And
25.
whatever you get, you'll get the tier below as well. So everyone who throws at least $10 in will get the digital as well. And the digital's practically ready right now. So it's pretty much as soon as we wrap the thing, the digital will probably go out.
Right.
I just have to make sure that we move there's a few textbooks, kind of quibbles I'm going to try and iron out to make sure everything's very clear, kind of who says what, when, that kind of thing.
Right. And this is the double pack here. Two copies.
Yep. Kept it very straightforward.
Yeah, and this $100 one is a signed physical copy, and you get a credit in the book. A captain credit in book. Okay, so it's like
we're going to list we're going to list our backers in the in the credits for the book.
Okay.
And I found a printer out of Wisconsin that another comic writer that I know recommended. So that's pretty cool. Keeping it in the States.
Oh, most definitely.
Mhm.
I
You
use
should check.
Greco's. Most people use Mixum. I've had heard good things about Mixum, and I've had good experiences with Greco.
That's what I was gonna say. Check with Mixum to compare.
Okay.
That's
other
the thing
people
that's
are going
so-
with them for pricing. They went with them. I don't deal with them because I'm in Canada. I have my own printer.
We got a backer.
Yeah.
Sweet deal.
And to steal a comment from the Bogans, the people in Michael Bancroft's chat, this book is rated R.
And the sugar rush has appeared.
That's right. We get the sugar rush.
Oh, the sugar rush, is that like the Bancroft bump?
Yes.
It's at the top right. See,
That's what
she's shaking her ass in the red
That's
dress.
what Soul calls it, the sugar rush.
Oh, dude, I've never seen that before.
He puts that every time we get we get somebody that backs us. We call it sugar rush.
Get down on it. Get down on it. All right, I feel much better that I have my Scottish naval cutlass now. You never know when those zombies are gonna come.
Oh yeah, dude, he has a huge sword collection.
Now, is naval cutlass a little bit shorter and broader than your standard infantry cutlass? Is that the difference?
Oh yeah. Here. You
Okay.
can see
I see. Yeah.
for scale, and of course, what's really nasty is the knuckle duster.
Yeah. No, that's no joke.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and the pommel, that'll leave a dent in your skull. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that'll do it.
Nasty.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to love the swept hilts and all that stuff. It looks really nice, but of course, it's all for protecting your hand.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Protects you on both sides there. Yeah, and then of course the back edge is also sharpened, so you can go.
Nice.
That back strike. It's one of the things I like about European swords that you don't find in katanas.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have anything against katanas; they're just a little overrated. That's all I'm saying.
Is there a tiny sharp bit on the end of a katana, or is the back of the katana all non-sharpened?
The
it's
back
always
of a katana, it's not sharpened.
Yeah.
It's made to block. And
it's made so you can hold.
and also for resheathing.
Yeah, and it's also because of like when you sharpen the sword, you also brittle the sword, right? So they all only sharpen one side instead of both sides, so it lasts longer. But somebody in medieval fencing once told me, he goes, "You have no chance with a freaking Japanese sword," and I taught him otherwise.
Yeah, well, also remember every time you sharpen a sword, you're making it a little bit smaller, right? You're basically shaving off steel, unless you're using the kind of what was I gonna say? The thing about Japanese swords, unlike European swords weren't always that sharp, but Japanese swords were always 3-foot razor blades.
Yeah.
And the other reason why the back edge isn't sharpened is so when you resheath, you can do that. Basically, what you're doing is you're running the back of the blade across your thumb,
so you can feel it instead of having to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Real quick.
And imagine trying to put all the same moves that their way of fighting would if you had a double-sided sword.
Oh my god.
If it was razor sharp on both sides.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad news.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a World War II Japanese katana, and then I have a Imperial Japanese sword.
What?
And
That's
Jeez.
authentic?
yeah,
Mhm.
Wow. Because
That
for the
shit is
longest,
used.
yeah, man. Because for the longest time, before, like now, you can get swords anywhere, right? They're
Yeah.
very easily accessible. But back in the day, if you wanted to study Japanese swordsmanship, and you needed to get a real sword, 90% of the time, it was going to be a World War II model.
hmm
Jeez.
and but I also I've liked one of the swordsmanship schools down from Japan and stuff. They're always posting stuff on Facebook and showing off their students progress and everything, and it's really cool. But the other day they had one of them dressed up like like an anime maid in the outfit and they were doing their stuff. But I've always been more interested in Kyudo, the archery. And stuff.
Oh, it's very interesting.
The Zen aspect of it and
Yeah.
everything. And
They hold the bow like so and draw it out like that. You know what I mean? Like for your Superman, like bending bars, and then pink. Yeah, and on horseback. Yeah, man.
Like I think I was watching I think today I was watching some of the World Kyudo tournament there. Their third, I think it was the third one I was watching, where they were doing it and everything.
Badass. Yeah, because in Japan you have like the unbroken line.
But dude, it used to be something that even here in Canada, right? We used to do it in school. Like I practiced archery, riding a horse and trying to shoot a freaking target.
Oh,
You know
that's
what I
so
mean?
Cool. That's so cool.
That's the type of stuff we used to do as a kid. The kids don't do that in school anymore.
No, that would be considered gay in America.
Or toxic.
I don't know about.
No, it would be considered unmasculine. You're supposed to play football. Damn it.
We did that. We practiced tracking, trapping.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like the Boy Scouts, like the French Boy Scouts, the Quebecois.
I've never been in the Boy Scouts, but I've been a cadet.
We got Pops in the chat. Hey,
What up,
Pops.
Pops? Yeah, he's doing Chromcast this upcoming weekend. I'm scheduled. A whole bunch of people are scheduled. Dude, you should see if he still has a spot left. Pops is good people. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to talk to hit Mandy up, grade 0.5. God, there's so many Bancroft, of course.
You've got who else? You got Indievolt. You've got there's so
Raging
many
Go-
people.
Raging
I know
Golden Eagle.
Raging Golden Eagle. Yeah, no man. Yep. And the great thing about this community is to become part of it. All you have to do is just walk in the door.
Yeah, just be cool.
Just don't be an a-hole. And then of course it helps if you have a sweet looking book like this, and you have a sweet looking book.
Yeah, I need to actually.
Thanks, guys.
I'm curious.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. We're the opposite of the mainstream. We're not the gatekeepers. We're the gate openers.
Red Roger. I'm gonna look at Red Roger comic up.
Yeah. Read Red Roger. I really am. Again, Eugene's art. I'd say his art for Red Roger was at least at first a bit more cartoony, and I'd say he's gone a little more sort of gritty with what we're doing here. But still, same thing. Like he has kind of a like Will Eisner kind of look. But I really liked the aesthetic and also the color palette. It's really good. I'd recommend it. Guys, I have to actually head. I have to go to work, but thank you so much for inviting me, and it's so much fun to meet all of you and to talk shop and just geek out. I'm so glad.
Man.
I'm glad I found another HEMA fencer. HEMA's awesome.
Did I warn you guys?
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll let you go there, Paul.
Thanks for following up with me, Chris. I really appreciate it.
So no worries.
I'll hit you up, and actually I'll put you in touch as well with Brendan LaSalle, who created X-Crawl. I think you'd have a cool conversation with him as well. I think you'd really like it.
I'd like to know more about that. That sounds really cool.
He'll tell you all about it. He's a really funny, interesting dude. I think
All right.
you'll be interested about it because, and again, he's old school. Like he's been GMing since like D&D was invented. He's no joke.
So,
Nice.
Oh
so
wow.
we're gonna be doing
Yeah.
the switch from pirates to six-gun guerrilla in the West.
From pirates to western.
Nice
later,
meeting you,
Paul.
Paul.
Pleasure, fellas. Be
And best
well.
of luck.
Peace out, man.
Thank you so much. Cheers,
Mhm.
folks.
I'm gonna go back this book.
Yes, please do go check out Manila. I like the art. I do like the art. I think it's pretty
Me
cool.
too. Me too. Like that's really beautiful. Is that watercolors? Not sure. But either way,
I think it's a
just-
water. I think it might be digital with watercolor finish, but maybe you're right. Maybe it is watercolor. We should have asked him.
I know we fucked up.
Well, it's hard to get a word in when you got him and Brian just
I know,
talking
kicking
all
out.
that. Yeah.
I warned you.
Dude, seriously, feel
Dude,
free. I won't be offended if you hit the fucking mute button on
Dude,
me.
that has
Ever.
nothing to do with it. We got you here at the same time for that reason.
Gotcha. Okay. You know what gets me geeking out?
Because the first time we met him, I'm like, dude, he reminds me of, Chris, of Brian when he starts talking about horror movies. I'm like, you get them on the show and they're gonna start like, what happened?
Yeah. What's the book again? Yeah, no, because I was worried. Like at a certain point, I was just like, damn, we're want people to see the book. It's about the book. But then if you're just chilling all the time, it can get a little boring. So those little meanderings, I think, could be a good thing. But yeah, 4 days left. 4 days left.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are we gonna get a story with that cyborg guy?
You might one of these days. I'm not sure. But I was really worried at first when I saw that cover, because I was thinking, oh shit, people are going to think that it's a science fiction book, not a Western book. But then I also have Adrian's cover, so. And also this is the third campaign. This is the 8th book in the series. So I like to think people know that this is a Western comic, but also Preston was just like, calm the fuck down. I'll do this again, but like in a Western setting, because that's what I thought he was going to do. Right. So instead of this being like Star Wars Cantina, it would just be like an Old West saloon, and it would just be like the same poses. But he went right for like the direct parody, and what can I say? It turned out beautiful. People really want posters of this, and I am definitely going to provide those, because, as I keep saying, this is a living campaign. That's to say, I'm going to keep adding shit. Just added a sketch card tier, thanks to my man Sim.
You put them up?
Yep. Yeah, they're there.
Scroll down there. Let's see. All issues. Oh, there we go.
Oh, and I got new pages from Preston just right before we went live on air, and they look absolutely beautiful.
I did the regular 6-gun and I did the cyborg one because I like him.
Hell yeah!
Do a story.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. We'll see. I mean, there's definitely going to be some backup stories in this issue. I want to give people a fatter book, rather than the usual 24 pager. What was I going to say? The book is available. You don't have to just choose between the two covers. You can get them both, and then of course, rather than do a trade paperback. For this one, I decided to just do nothing but floppies, because it was just too confusing for the backers, where they were like, wait a second, one book is like $35, the other one is $15. Like, I don't understand. And that's explained, like, that's because the $35 book is actually 6 issues 1 through 6. It's 6 comics, and the new one is just 1 comic. So rather than do that again, if you're new to the world of 6-Gun Gorilla, you can get all of the back issues plus the Cemetery Without Crosses. That's the 8th issue for one discounted price. And I've been nothing but lucky with this series. People all really seem to enjoy it and get a kick out of it, and couldn't be happier to the critical reaction to it, and from the readers too.
I'm not
But
an
I
SVP
need to start
Western,
busting
and I
my
enjoyed
ass
it.
and start pushing a little harder in terms of promotion.
Yeah, doing more rounds with County Kid.
Yeah,
I
most
mean,
definitely.
You
But,
see,
I'm not a
it's-
big fan of westerns, and I liked it, and my girl liked it too.
yeah,
she
it's
sure did, didn't she?
looks
That's
like with
pretty
every
happy.
campaign you're growing, and everything.
Yeah.
You're finding more people and stuff.
First campaign did about 8. Second campaign did a little under 20. And we shall see where this one goes. But I gave it sort of a soft launch because I didn't have finished art pages. I only had I had pencils
Mm-hmm.
from Preston, but they hadn't been colored yet. So I was like, you know what? Let me do the soft launch, and as I keep adding more tiers and more stuff, then I can start coming harder with the promotion. But I'm what can I say? I'm a little bit rusty, but I'm so far happy with how the book's doing. I can't complain. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I knew you had it drawn into it.
Oh yeah, we do. And
Dang it.
one actually the last guy who I think Preston was thinking about, like, hey, maybe add like at least 2 more drawn-ins, so that could be happening in the near future. And what was I gonna say? The last guy who sent his picture, one guy sent pictures of his son. I'm like, you realize something horrible is probably gonna happen to him, right? He's like, yeah, I'm counting on it.
I hope so.
And the last fellow, Dave from Australia, has these amazing mutton chops, and I was just like, oh, you're gonna fit right in.
Perfect.
Fit right in. Perfecto. And when I sent his pictures to Preston, I was like, did we luck out with this dude or what? Yeah, so it's it's fun. It's fun working with Preston. He's based the first 10 pages of art on the 10 pages of pencils that Adrian left behind. He, of course, passed away last year, and Preston Acevedo kindly stepped in to pick up the drawing duties. And he's trying to do it in a way that's respectful of Adrian's style, but also it should be a nice provide a nice smooth transition. You don't, when you're changing artists midstream. Now, of course, there've been like a billion artists on Thor, there've been a billion artists on X-Men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are long series. This is a 10-issue series. It's a 10-issue arc. Switching artists in that arc, not unheard of, but at the same time, you don't want to go from like Neil Adams to like Bill Sienkiewicz. In other words, you don't want the change in artists or styles to be jarring.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's doing that. He's doing that beautifully. And this issue is going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal when you find out what the Cemetery Without Crosses is. It's going to mess with your head. It's like, if you think this character's gotten the crap beaten out of him before, you ain't seen nothing. It's like the last story was the big gun down. That's the dream stage of the adventure, where our heroes are just like, mowing the bad guys down. This is basically like the Empire Strikes Back. This is the part of the story where like everything goes to shit, but in a very cool and exciting way. And also, this is where you finally get some answers to what the villain's master plan is, what his caper is. And when I started the story, it starts out very small, and I wanted to gradually increase the scope of the story until it turns into like this big, sprawling, epic adventure. And you're really going to see that in this issue too.
Nice. I wonder what caliber his guns are. They got to be pretty.
Oh, they're their own caliber.
Yeah.
You'd have to custom make bullets for that gun.
Yeah.
Right, because it was made by hand by a particularly talented blacksmith, whom eventually we're going to meet later on in the series. I mean, after this after this 10-issue arc, because even though there are a bunch of other projects I'm doing, a bunch of other books I'm doing, and a bunch of other books I want to do in various genres, I could write Six Gun Gorilla. I've got enough stories to last, I don't know, 20 years. Easy. And also, if I reach the stretch goal, I'm going to include a 8-page backup story about the Dandy, who is one of the characters from the expanded Six Gun Gorilla universe. Because once this series is over, eventually I'd like to do a book called Any Gun Can Play, which is going to be kind of like a Magnificent Seven of the Weird West. That's to say, it's going to be all these different, rather peculiar characters from the Old West that you've never heard of, from the secret history of the Old West. And Six Gun Gorilla is going to be in that, but he's not going to be the star. He's going to be part of an ensemble. And so what I want to start doing with these last 3 issues is having little, maybe like 8-page, 10-page introductory stories to introduce you to these characters as we lead up to that.
And we're also working on something quite interesting, a post-alien invasion Western.
Yeah. that I wrote for Sim. Yeah. And also I'm writing, just finishing up on Blood Hunt Doc Salem, the crossover.
Yep.
And that's going to be dope.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start the pencils on that soon. And
I
have another project that I'm gonna be working on that I'm not gonna announce yet, but I'm working on a crossover for 2 other people soon.
Nice. And I made that dialogue change, by the way.
Yes.
That you suggested.
I knew you'd love it, dude.
Absolutely. Because it's a tricky thing, when you're when you're playing around with other people's IPs. You know what I mean? It's like you and Preston put your sandboxes together, gave me your action figures, and just let me play with them.
And you took the time to understand the characters pretty well.
Oh yeah, have to.
The only thing I saw was like, maybe enhancing his humor.
Oh yeah, well I mean the dialogue always comes last. Dialogue is always last, and they've given me Sim and Preston both have given me complete creative freedom. So once I'm done with that script, they're going to have complete freedom too. When it comes to saying like, wait a second, my character wouldn't say that, or he would say this instead, or. And
the other day was somebody's birthday, and I just we sang the song, and I had that idea in my head, and I'm like, oh, I need to write Brian.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And these are fun characters. They don't get along very well. They wouldn't.
They're not made to.
Once
a monster hunter for goodwill in a way, while the other one's like, pay me to kill people. I don't care.
Yeah.
And he's a monster.
He's a monster himself. Yeah, Vampire Hitman versus Monster Hunter. Like you said, Sim, it writes itself, dude. And it pretty much has. But I've also tied it into events in both of the comic books. So like there was a plot point that was kind of like a throwaway thing in Doc Salem, and that's what I'm expanding on. So it's going, and then of course there's also going to be characters from Blood Hunt,
and you technically get a taste of what happens after. Le Hun
Yes.
number 1, because he has, you get to know Gabrielle a little bit more, so you get to get a glimpse of what's to come, what comes after.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. That's gonna be dope as fuck.
Won't be
But yeah,
totally canon, but they are in a way.
well, no, I mean it's optional. Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's what I'm
saying?
saying. Yeah, but they fit in the universe of the book, so we can use them if we don't, or if
Ex-
we yeah.
Exactly. That's how I'm trying. That's how I'm trying to do
And
it.
me, from what I read, I think it's gonna be canon.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's how I'm writing it, and then you guys can just, go, take what you like, leave the rest, like a salad bar.
Yeah, and I also like the idea that we came up with let's just say bullets.
Yeah.
I've never seen that done before, and I thought that was that's cool and funny at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait for you guys to see that one.
I know. We can't drop too many spoilers.
I know.
But with the artwork, with Preston's artwork on this book, it's Ollie from 656, who are just killing it right now, and he's doing a really beautiful job with the colors. So it should be a nice, sweet looking book, and I should also mention, I didn't even mention in the campaign yet that I should mention on the page, like, all the books arrive signed, but I just assume that people just assume that their books will be signed. But,
no, don't assume that people know that. Just say it. Put it on the main campaign.
All right, I will.
All books signed.
I will. And yeah, we're looking at the Six Gun Gorilla figurine that George Peter Gatsis, the infamous Blue Muppet, made for the campaign. And there's a piece of him right there. I was holding him together with poster tack, but I have removed all of it now because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to create a mold and start casting these. Nice. So these are going to be very limited in number, and they're going to have the distinction of not having been made by slaves in China, but by yours truly. And they'll be very limited in number and signed and numbered on the base, I'm guessing. But yeah, I'm watching those YouTube tutorials and stuff, and gonna have to figure this shit out, but I will. And that's gonna be those are gonna be available on their own, so you don't have to think, oh well, I shouldn't buy the books until those are available, because those will be available separately, like these sketchy cards. And yeah, here we're looking at our heroes. So if you're not familiar with the world of Six Gun Gorilla and with the characters, this will give you a complete rundown.
Okay. And we have the villains. He looks suitably villainous.
Yeah, it's great. Gravesend, and let's see, it's Strawman right next to him, and I gave all these guys their own personalities. They're a very nasty, vile bunch, indeed. And there's Lord Chilblain, who is exactly the kind of villain. He's the arch villain who Gravesend and his boys are working for. We discover around issue 3. And he's exactly what I needed for this story, which was a James Bond villain. And he's based actually on a kind of person that actually existed in the Old West, because, I'm a big history guy. I'm a big research guy. I always believe, do your research, even if you're not going to use 99.9% of it. It's still going to end up being useful. Mm-hmm. And then I read about these guys that were people in England who were landed gentry, nobility, that kind of a thing. In other words, lots and lots of crazy money. And they had been reading these stories called Natty Bumppo stories. Natty Bumppo, I guess, being a character that lived in Texas, like on the frontier, whatever. And so a lot of them well, not a lot of them, but some of them got natty bumpo fever and decided that they were going to move to Texas in the Old West, and they brought their homes with them. So that's exactly what this guy did. He's an heir to a arms manufacturing fortune, and moved his family's ancestral home from England right to Texas. So you've got like this English manor, like right smack dab, boom, like it had been picked up and just dropped in Texas. And I don't want to give too much away about the grand plot, but the one spoiler I will drop is that it involves a Zeppelin. So yeah, you're gonna get some guerrilla Zeppelin action in this series in the last 2 books.
Ooh. So Rocketeer style.
Yes. Well, I mean, I just one of the things I thought about was God, like gorillas and Zeppelins go together, like peanut butter and chocolate, and I did the research just to see like, well, would that have been possible? And it absolutely would have been without a doubt. And here are pictures from the pages from the first 7 issues. This is from the first issue, and also I should mention that I have added a link at the top of the page, where if you haven't read the book yet, you don't know if this is your thing, you can download a PDF of the first issue completely free. So
nice.
check. So, folks, I'm a big believer in letting the customer, sample before they buy.
Yeah.
But
it
everybody
gives them a chance to check it out before they commit.
Right. Because, it's funny because, I know there are a lot of people that don't like Westerns. I got a very curious message from one guy, one potential backer, who was like, it's like, man, everybody's talking about like how you're this great writer, but do you have anything but other than Westerns? And I'm like, because I don't like Westerns. I was like, well, it's a Western, but it's a revenge Western with a fucking gorilla. I would like to think that's a little bit more different
than just a Western.
Yes. But it is a revenge Western with a friggin' gorilla.
Well, I mean, I have friends like that who are like, I can't stand Westerns. I will not read any or watch anything that has to do with that setting.
I don't understand those cats. I really don't.
People are just like that, I guess.
I know. And especially also, they're very un-PC, right? Because of the ways that they've classically depicted Native Americans and that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the classic Westerns, even though they can be flawed in many respects.
Right.
The old John Ford movies, I love those. I also, of course, I'm a very big fan of the Italian Westerns. God, I could go on for hours about those. I own literally about 300 of them.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they made that many.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Talking about the Italians here, man. The way the Italian film industry worked was they had a genre, and that became popular. It sold, and they would make 1 million of that.
Yep.
For like years, right?
The French were the same with comics and stuff.
Yep. So like peplums were really big. Peplums being sword and sandal movies. Hercules was very popular, so they just made nothing but those for a while. Then they were doing gothic horror. Then they went to westerns, and then they went back to gothic horror. Oh, of course, yeah.
Then Bud Spencer, that was technically a western, but in the modern world, and with slaps instead of gunshots all the time. That's what it was. It was still like a spaghetti type western.
Well, they were sort of like spoofs, because the movie that was the game changer was They Call Me Trinity, and Trinity Is Still My Name, which was the sequel. And those movies, some people blame the death of the Italian Western on those movies, but I agree with the people that said, like, you know what, it was already on its way out. And there are these spaghettis that I'm especially fond of that are called referred to as the Twilight spaghettis, and those are interesting because they have a very sort of sad, elegiac quality to them. So they're very much kind of like about the end of the Italian Western. It was wrapping up and they knew it. And also they're very often set at a time where it was like the end of the Old West. So, and you had these characters that were like, that were very old-fashioned and not necessarily didn't necessarily fit into like the world as it was changing. A lot of people forget that, or don't know that people like Wyatt Earp were alive well into like the 1920s.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Esther Meadow says, "Made in the good old USA."
Oh, USA.
Yodam's here. He says, "Hail, hail, Yodam."
Hail, hail.
And then,
Hail, everybody
Esther
in the
Meadow
chat.
says that she loves westerns.
Oh, well, then you'll dig this for sure. For sure. Because this does follow a classic Western storytelling structure. I mean, that's what I wanted to do with this. My thing as a writer is I like to take really crazy ideas and then tell a serious story with them. I knew this book would be way more fun if I played it straight. At the same time, when you're playing it straight, you don't want it to become ponderous or heavy-handed. You want to maintain that sense, that spirit of fun and adventure. And evidently, I succeeded because people really love the book. I didn't expect it to be as popular as it is. I really I thought certain people would really like it. And then other people would be like, "Oh, this is okay," and then there'd be a lot of people that were like, "Yeah, it's not for me." But everybody who reads it seems to love it, and couldn't be more grateful. Yeah, there's some of Ollie's beautiful colors over Preston's pencils. That's the other thing too, is whenever I get pencils from my artist, whether it was Adrian or now Preston. When I get those, they're so beautiful. I don't want to see them inked and I don't want to see them colored. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm just like, oh, that's just like so beautiful the way it is. But what he's done here is he's sort of done his own inking, but he's done it with pencil. So like you see those blacks and everything, that's not ink. That's him penciling.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of westerns growing up. I had a Rawhide Kid, I had a Two Gun Kid comic, and I had like a Jonah Hex. That Jonah Hex one was weird. It was cool,
God.
but it was weird.
Well, what they did was they changed the character. This is the thing that bothered me. They made Jonah Hex steampunk.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex is not steampunk. Jonah Hex is Weird West all the way.
Like it had like these worm creatures and then people that lived underground, like underground.
Oh, you're talking about the ones that were done by my man Joe Lansdale and Timothy Truman, both of whom I'm incredible huge fans of. And yeah. I mean, I was talking about the movie they made.
The movie
steampunk. Yeah, and then and like the Marvel comics, like the All-Star Western, when they brought that back, they made him steampunk. But in the Joe Lansdale, Timothy Truman series, they added a supernatural element.
Yeah, it was neat.
It was great. I love it.
I was like, this is pretty neat. I like, like they're like getting eaten by these worm things, and then the villains,
crafting creatures. Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Joe Lansdale. There's two Joe Lansdales. There's like the proper novelist that writes things like The Bottoms and A Thin Dark Line and Cold in July. And then there's the Joe Lansdale that writes shit like Bubba Hotep about elderly Elvis in a nursing home fighting a mummy that sucks people's souls out of their assholes. Just turned into a very good movie, by the way, by the Phantasm director,
Wow.
Don Coscarelli. And I should say also Joe Lansdale, very big Six Gun Gorilla fan.
Okay.
Gave me this really, really nice quote to use.
Yeah, I did. I do hope I can come across some more of that Jonah Hex book, so I can.
Jonah Hex was great, dude.
Jonah Hex was the shit.
Yeah, it was technically like a supernatural investigating marshal.
Yeah, I always liked how the when they do like weird West genres or weird World War II tales and things like that, where they mix the supernatural with the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I like the look of Jonah Hex too. I thought he was cool.
Here we
Me,
go.
I think like I used to be more into Western and stuff like that when I was younger, like Lucky Luke and I don't know, a whole bunch of Western movie. I watch all
Blueberry.
of them.
Yeah.
The thing is, I like that supernatural aspect of it too. That's the thing is I like those dark type of stuff, but then they all concentrated on the same type of
that
comedy
one.
type.
Yeah, I think that was the. I think I had the floppy that had that picture on it on the front.
Yeah, Timothy Truman was pissed off when this came out because he's like, they reused the cover.
Yeah,
I would have done an original one.
Had. Yeah, that's the cover the floppy I had. Yeah.
This is all 3 books combined. Each limited series combined.
Oh wow, yeah, I might have to pick that one up.
And it was Riders of the Worm and such is the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, because there was like a Mexican guy and he had dynamite and he ends up blowing himself up and all that stuff.
Yep.
There was like a young fella and they were talking about like he needed to get some lead out of his pencil.
Oh yeah, well I mean, yeah, that's Naughty Joe. It's definitely Naughty Joe who wrote this series. But
I really liked it.
It's great.
Yeah, there he is.
and of course the other thing that he did, I think that's great. That's great in his version of Jonah Hex is people are always asking him, "Where'd you get that scar?" And each time he has a different answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one time, like he's just so at the end of his rope, he just fucking knocks some motherfucker out for asking. He's just sick of it at that point. But yeah, no, I love the Marvel westerns. I love the DC westerns. Batlash is a character I especially love. It was created by Sergio Aragonés, and I think John Severin. And wow, man, just great stuff. It's nice to see also now that there are other people that are doing Western comics in the scene. And so, I was not to boast like I was the first, but I showed it could be done. But I kind of did. But I did.
Now I'm going to go a little off topic here, Brian, but I got a question.
That's all good. Yeah.
Did you see Rob Zombie's post?
Rob Zombie's ghost?
No, his post on social media. He's apparently going to be doing a Monsters movie.
Oh yeah, that's old news. Yeah, fuck him. Fuck Rob Zombie. Seriously. Here's why I have zero respect for that motherfucker. Every single movie that he does is a ripoff of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, which is one of the greatest. Maybe
he's always remaking the same movie.
He's always remaking the same movie.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't give credit where credit's due. And it's just like, yeah, fuck that guy. He's a poser in like the worst way. Like his version of the Monsters, and he's got to put his bitch in everything, right?
Yeah, that's the part that I know he's going to put her in it, and
she's a little.
I'm not going to even watch it. I'm not even going to watch it.
No,
if she's in it.
No, I have.
She does not fit in this movie.
No, and quite frankly, Lily was
a
bitch on wheels.
The only good movie I saw by Rob Zombie, El Super Pisto. That was fun.
Yeah, I liked El Super Beast.
Oh yeah. That was okay. You know,
That was the only thing. Dude, that's the
only
movie
thing, yeah. It's like, how do you fuck that up? You know. And of course, I'm a big fan of the Mexican horror wrestling genre, El Santo. And in fact, one of the books that I have planned is called Tequila Moonrise, which is inspired by the Mexican horror wrestling genre. Yes, that's a genre. In case you folks didn't know, it's like from out of this world.
Yeah, the wrestlers that fight demons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like El Santo was the shit. He was like a guy who was like a real wrestler, and the movies would open, and he'd be in the wrestling ring, and then he'd wrestle, and then he'd run off, and he'd be like Batman, right? He'd be running around, driving around in like a sports car with his cape and everything, and then he'd like pull into the cemetery, fight a bunch of vampires. Then he'd like go wrestle again, and then he'd like go out on a date with some hot chick and like make out with her with the mask on, of course. And then he'd go fight some werewolves, and then there'd be like another wrestling match, and then there'd be like a mariachi band or a musical sequence, and then he'd go fight a cyclops. Those movies were completely batshit crazy, but the idea was that like instead of like going to the movies and going, okay, well, we're going to watch the adventure movie, the horror movie, or the musical, you'd go see that one movie and it would have everything in
everything.
Yeah, just quite El Super Visto.
Yep.
And he's also a porn star.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Tequila Moonrise. I can't. Oh God. I'm really looking forward to doing that one when I can. But that's the thing. We don't make a lot of money on these books, so it's like every book basically funds the one that comes after it. But yeah, that's like one of the books that's in my pipeline that I think people are really going to enjoy.
Let's see. We got emojis in the chat. Okay.
What up, everybody in the chat?
What's up?
Yeah, I seen that post I think a couple of days ago about Rob Zombie, and I'm like,
fuck
no,
that.
No, he's gonna ruin it. I love the original Monsters TV series. I love the original Adam Sandler series and everything. And
Well,
I'm like,
dude, did you see what? Dude, my hero, Robert Rodriguez. He's gonna freaking ruin one of my favorite fucking stories ever as a kid.
No.
The Curse of Capistrano.
Yeah.
Which is the original story of fucking Zorro.
Yes.
So he's doing a Zorro series, but Zorro's not the hero. It's gonna be that feminist fucking chick. Yeah. Yeah, he's just gonna be a side character, so he's gonna get cocked and this and that, yeah.
Who do I have to blow to get a decent fucking Zorro movie?
I know, right?
Zorro's the shit. Zorro is the shit.
Dude, it's one of my favorite freaking novels as a kid. Dude. The Curse of Cap. I used to watch those. I grew up as a kid, dude. As a kid, waiting at the last minute because I would want to watch that Disney Channel black and white fucking Zorro, and then I would run to fucking school and not be late. Sometimes I'd be late because I don't give a fuck. I'd watch that Zorro cartoon, not cartoon, but series.
Yeah, no, it was good actually.
And then one of the first things I found was the Curse of Capistrano. That's his origin story, and you read that one, and dude,
because it's all a surprise. It's kind of like the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
You only find out at the very end of the story. That's the twist. Oh my God, it was the same guy. Yep. And with the Curse of Capistrano, it's the end of that Diego Villanova, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Who was like this fop, like, this horrible Zorro man's going around. But who's Zorro? The last guy that you would ever expect.
And that guy was the first one to write that freaking scene of, the dying hero or something like that. And everybody wears his mask. They show up wearing his mask to like save him. Dude.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, I remember reading that as a kid, and that story got copied so many times, but Zorro never got told properly.
Yeah, no, I have to agree.
The closest one was maybe the one with Antonio Banderas. They covered a little piece of it, but
well, my personal favorite is the one with Alain Delon that came out in the 70s.
Means the Mask of Zorro, the classic one, the black and white one.
Oh, that's one's great
with
too.
Power or something.
Yeah. With Tyrone Powers, I think.
Yeah.
I'm such.
I have the deluxe edition that came with the special little pictures of on the set.
I really liked the Zorro comic based on the Elizabeth Allende novel that was done by Matt Wagner. I thought that was really good. Really enjoyed that. I don't know if you've read it. Nope. Zorro is just a criminally underutilized character. If I could have my way, Zorro would come back every like 2 or 3 years, like James Bond.
I've been waiting to be able to have it from the the thing is, if I'm not mistaken, when I check, Curse of Capistrano is coming.
So what's Rodriguez doing? He's gonna
do a series on the Zorro that we all know,
but Zorro's is still gonna be a guy.
Yeah,
right?
but it's going to be the side character because the main character is going to be the new hero, which is going to be a feminist woman that's anti this, and yeah.
Coming from him, especially, that hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, who
much
knows?
so.
Who knows? Maybe it'll end up being good. I'll watch it.
But Brian, did you hear what I said? I think Curse Capistrano is public domain.
Ah. It is, isn't it? Boy, wouldn't it be great to do a comic book adaptation of that?
I know, right? Wink, wink.
Yeah. Oh, dude, in a freaking heartbeat. Yeah, I
gentlemen,
am a Zorro simp, big time.
It is. I am 1 minute late for work.
Oh,
I'm hungry as a motherfucker.
Yeah, so I need to wrap this up. But
so later, everyone. Don't forget to sub, like, and share this channel. Support Chris. Let's get it to 500 subs so we can get that drawing free to you, and get him to 1,000 to get him running in that red dress. There you go. It's done. Boom.
Yeah, boy.
Versus KFC.
Got to make the dream happen, folks.
Alrighty, everybody. Yeah.
And don't forget to go back to us on an adverse too. Six Gun Gorilla and Milano. Yep.
Later, everybody.
Peace, love, and soul, everybody.
Later.